First impressions count, and when I first met this car, I wasn't sure I was going to like it very much. But in the week or so we've known each other, we've really gotten to like each other. This is Four Wheels and a Seat, where every week I review a brand new car. To make sure you don't miss any, hit that subscribe button down below. Right, now it's time to talk about the Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross Exceed plug-in hybrid. The Eclipse Cross has been on sale for about 5 years, and it has yet to make a serious dent in the sales of the smaller ASX. So Mitsubishi have kept them both on sale, although the Eclipse Cross is priced just a little higher. From the front, it's a good-looking car. In fact, it looks just like a smaller version of the Outlander. So we've got the same high-mounted LED driving lights, the mid-mounted headlights, and this sort of half-fake grille here. It's a really strong, aggressive design. On the side, we've got 18-inch alloys that look pretty good. In case there's any doubt about what the powertrain is in this car, we've got a giant badge here so the entire world can see that you're driving a plug-in hybrid EV. Up on top, we've got a nice contrast with the red metal paintwork here on the panoramic sunroof and some black details here on the roof racks. And down the back here, we've got the charging ports with 2 chargers. We've got the regular high-speed charging plug and also the Japanese standard CHAdeMO port there too. The rear of the Eclipse Cross, I'm not so sure about. It all kind of just sits up a little bit high, although I do like these light clusters. They look pretty good. Underneath the boot lid, we get a lot of beeping and a 359-litre storage space, which you can make bigger with the rear seats pushed down. The non-hybrid versions of the Eclipse Cross do get a bit more storage space as they don't have a battery under the floor. But it's under the bonnet where this car does its best work, because here we've got a 2.4 litre naturally aspirated petrol Myvec engine that outputs 99 kilowatts of power and 139 Newton meters of torque. It's connected to 2 electric motors, one on the front axle and one at the rear, and together they provide 130 kilowatts of power. The electric motors are connected to a 13.8 kilowatt hour battery that gives around about 40 kilometers of range, and when the battery runs low, the petrol motor kicks in to charge the battery and act as a generator. Inside, and the speed of technological change slows to a crawl with another slightly outdated Mitsubishi interior. Don't get me wrong, it's well made and there's a nice mix of materials with soft touch up on top here and piano black, which, well, you know, I mean, this car's only done about 5,500 Ks and there are scratches everywhere. Some nice sort of metallic finish here and a bit of harsh scratchy plastic down low there, especially over here on the armrest where they've used something that looks a little bit like fake carbon fibre. The center console screen is just a bit too small and the software that works on it isn't very good. It's kind of outdated and the navigation doesn't really work all that well, and it's a shame that they don't use similar software that's found in the Outlander, but hopefully it'll be coming soon. There is wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto available as well. The screen does have some cool features though, allowing you to see how power is flowing throughout the car from the battery to the engine and vice versa, and what's powering the wheels at any one time. It's a little bit laggy and a bit sort of stilted in the way it works, but it's interesting to watch nonetheless. Probably better for the passengers who are in your car rather than the driver though. Dual zone climate controls in this car, they look a little bit old school, kind of like a 1990s car stereo. A couple of USB-A outputs here, controls for the heated steering wheel. There is a storage bin down here for your phone, which doesn't provide wireless charging unfortunately, and it's just a little bit too small for my iPhone anyway. Lower center console here, we have probably one of the worst gear shifters I've ever seen in a car. It reminds me of the one in the Nissan Leaf that's kind of like a weird joystick toggle kind of thing. I don't like the way this works at all. It's fiddly and it can be often hard to get the car in the right gear. We've got drive mode controls here, controls that allow you to select whether this car is going to run in power save mode or charging mode or full EV mode. Lots of piano black plastic here, which I mentioned before has got actually quite a few scratches on it unfortunately. Some good sized cup holders, a nice soft armrest here over a good sized center console bin with a little removable tray. And in front of the driver, we've got a head-up display that pops up out of the dashboard, which looks pretty cool. The instrument cluster though is, again, just a little bit old school for such a cool car. We've got 2 big analog dials here, one of which acts as your gauge for the battery, showing you how much charge is going in and out of the battery. It also does double duty as a tacho for the petrol engine. We've got a big old speedo next to that and a small LED screen in the middle, which doesn't really show you a whole heap of information. Steering wheel feels a little bit plasticky. It's covered in what I suspect is a vinyl wrap. It doesn't feel like leather, but it does have a bit of stitching on there. We've got audio controls and adaptive cruise control controls. Plus, we've got two big metal paddles here, which in the old days in my Lancer, these were apparently made out of magnesium. I don't know if that's still the case here or not, but they are metal and they control the amount of regenerative braking going back into the battery, allowing the battery to get a little bit of extra charge. The seating position is a little bit high in the cabin, but there is plenty of headroom. I've got good visibility to the front of the bonnet. The seats are leather wrapped with some nice stitching. There is full power adjustment for the driver and front passenger. Both of the seats are heated, but there's no lumbar support, unfortunately, but still they are pretty comfortable with the bolsters hugging you in nicely. All right, back seat, the Eclipse Cross, and it's not too bad. I've put the passenger seat into the same position as the driver's seat. I'm 190 centimeters tall, and it's okay. I'm just touching the seat in front, but it's a nice soft seat, so that's all right. Plenty of toe room, which is good. Headroom is not great though. With the low sloping roof line, my hair is touching the ceiling quite a bit there, but it's all right. The outboard rear seats here are heated for rear seat passengers. There's no USBs back here, which is a major strike against this car and could potentially be a problem if you've got children who like to play with devices, and well, that's pretty much every kid I've ever met. Even though there's a dual sunroof in this car, there's one in the front, one in the rear, it's still quite dark in here. The dark headliner does keep things quite dark, and the glass is quite heavily tinted as well. There is a tiny little armrest here. It's got to be one of the smallest I've ever seen, with two cup holders. So, look, rear seat passengers I think will be pretty comfortable back here. This is actually a really good car to drive. And I think the key difference is that second electric motor. Being all-wheel drive with two electric motors, it does make this car far more dynamic to drive. Now, while you're not getting the sort of gut-kicking performance that you get from, say, a Tesla dual motor, what you are getting is really good performance and the feeling that this car is just really well glued to the road. And it's incredibly refined in here. In fact, when the petrol engine does come on, it is really, really quiet. I don't know why I don't need to shout. I can actually lower my volume down a little bit and just talk like a normal person. Of course, you've got pretty much all the safety gear you could want. One thing that I have noticed that's a little bit overly sensitive is this car's forward collision warning, which does sort of start screaming at me that I need to brake urgently when there's really nothing in front of me at all. And also the lane departure warning does tend to go off a bit and was actually really annoying my passengers last night. So a little bit of tweaking with those could be good, but that's hardly a problem unique to this car. There are a few different drive modes. We've got normal, tarmac, gravel, snow, and eco. And you can also change the way that this car switches between the electric and petrol-powered drivetrains with the Save Charge button down here. So in Save mode, it obviously looks to minimize the amount of there's that lane departure warning. It looks to minimize the amount of battery power the car uses. In charge mode, it turns on the petrol engine and it sits at just under 1000 RPM when it's not under load and acts as a generator for the battery. And after about 45 minutes to an hour, the battery is back up to full charge. So this actually is the plug-in hybrid that you potentially never need to plug in. And then of course you can go full EV mode, and if there is sufficient power in the battery, the car will just switch to the electric drivetrain. But if there's not enough, then it will just turn on the petrol engine. Having the car in charge mode and having the petrol engine work as a generator does affect fuel economy. You're not really optimizing this car's potential by using that. But it is incredibly convenient, and you're still going to be better off than a regular petrol car. The ride feels good, but it is just a little bit bouncy, and I'm noticing that around town at the moment, mainly because, and I feel like I say this every week, we've had so much rain lately that the roads are covered in potholes. They're just in a pretty bad shape at the moment. So cars like this, SUVs in particular, do tend to bounce around a little bit with that and perhaps not show off their smoothest side. Also, with the weather warming up, I just really have noticed today that the air conditioning in this car is really good. I am sort of a little bit wary of the fact though that is eating into battery life a bit though. Also, I think another thing that adds to the level of refinement in this car and the quietness is the fact that the electric motor has no fake electric engine noise, which is just so common with pretty much every EV you come across at the moment. There is just a very quiet little electric whine, but other than that, it's nearly silent. Mitsubishi have discovered the secret of a head-up display that is visible wearing polarized sunglasses. This is revolutionary. Why can't every car maker do this? A plug-in hybrid is a bit of an each-way bet. You're not really committing one way or the other. And look, if I'm honest, I think that the Honda HR-V is a far superior car in terms of its interior technology and overall design, but the Eclipse Cross is a better car to drive. But if you're looking for a daily driver around the city, why not go full electric? But if you really do need that extra peace of mind of an internal combustion engine for that odd trip that you might do out to the country, then the Eclipse Cross is well worth considering.